So, the Book of Boba Fett. The finale was just a few days ago. Seen every episode, and I thought it was alright. I liked it, but I got some pretty weird feelings about it. Let's get into it. Spoilers for the Book of Boba Fett. Now, keep in mind, when I do this review, I'm fresh off the show. These are my initial opinions. Not everybody would agree with what I have to say about it at this moment, but this is just how I feel at the moment, because I do have sort of a couple gripes with the show. So this show is set after the events of The Mandalorian Season 2. Boba Fett has become the daimyo of Mos Espa on Tatooine. But also, we occasionally will get a glimpse at his backstory of how he came to this point. We saw that iconic moment where he's rising out of the Sarlacc pit. Crazy to finally see that in live action after so many fan depictions and artwork of it floating around out there. Now, the pacing of the show was a little bit to get used to. It really did take its time, but I was kind of like, I was into the occasional flashbacks in the bacta tank, and I'm glad we got to cut back every now and then between that and the main storyline. Say what you want about the way they did it, but all the events in the show, chapters 1 through 4, they were all culminating into this grand finale that we did end up getting. But then, this show just kind of stopped being about Boba Fett. It basically turned into a sneak preview of The Mandalorian's 3rd season, which chapters 5 and 6, I did like those episodes, and I do think they were the best episodes in terms of storytelling and moving a plot forward, but for The Mandalorian, not for this show, The Book of Boba Fett. It's such a weird, I like those episodes, but what a weird feeling it is to watch them. Even now that the show is over, something's very out of place. And I don't know what bothers me more. The fact that it basically stops being about Boba Fett in his own show, or that it doesn't really bother anyone else. You see the reviews online, it's like, this show's strengths are when it's not focused on Boba Fett. Well, that's a problem, isn't it? And by the way, unsurprisingly, if you go on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, chapters 5 and 6 are the highest rated episodes on the show. Naturally. Something interesting on Rotten Tomatoes I noticed, in the description for chapter 5, The Return of the Mandalorian, they described it as a nice interlude from the main plot of the show, which I don't know if I would call it that. An interlude? I mean, it's not like, this isn't just like, oh, we're taking a short break from the main plot of the show. It was just not the show that we were watching. Here's a good example of an interlude. Okay, spoilers for Daredevil, season 3 specifically. If you've seen Daredevil, you remember that episode in season 3, half of the episode is dedicated to Karen Page's backstory. And not only that, this is a character that's a recurring supporting character on Daredevil. But the whole reason we got this half an episode dedicated to where she came from is we're getting an idea of where her head's at in this season, or throughout the whole show. And then it cuts back to where we last left off in the previous episode. With the return of The Mandalorian, it's just The Mandalorian Season 3. I'm not talking about Chapter 6 necessarily. This is really has to do with Chapter 5, because Chapter 6 at least progresses the plot a little bit further for the main storyline on this show. But it was nice to see Grogu again, though. And Luke Skywalker. Oh my god, let me talk about Luke Skywalker. So, like a lot of people out there, I did not like Luke's face in The Mandalorian Season 2. It was basically a Snapchat filter CGI face. But this time around, what an improvement. Seriously, what an improvement. I mean, it's like Mark Hamill himself actually traveled forward in time from the 1980s and made a cameo in this episode. Again, beautiful episode, like chapter 5 before it, still makes me feel a little weird, because this isn't The Mandalorian, this is the Book of Boba Fett, but whatever. Anyway, I'm sure I'll get over it. Again, this is my opinion right now, at this moment. It'll probably change. So the finale. A lot going on in that finale. It's almost an hour long. I think there are a lot of great, kind of moments. I feel like they would have done better, though, if maybe we spent some more time with some of the characters that were on this show. Like, remember when he got the Rancor as a present from the twins? Jabba's cousins. Not only did the twins disappear after, like, 2 episodes. Goodbye! But, you know, not only did that go nowhere, but the stuff with the Rancor, he said, I want to ride a Rancor. What? We could have gotten a whole episode, or not a whole episode, maybe a part of an episode dedicated to where he's trying to train his Rancor. He's trying to ride it. He's bonding with it. But we only got a few seconds of that in chapter, 3? Chapter 3. So also, the Sanctuary. The Sanctuary is just kind of there in the show. I mean, there's all these different things happening that are like, all these different conflicts Boba Fett has to juggle. I don't think they didn't really connect very well with each other. Either some characters left the show forever after like an episode or 2, or some of them were just kind of there throughout the show. I honestly thought that the Jabba's cousins were up to something with that Rancor present. But no, it just felt like a lot of missed opportunities. I don't know if they had trouble crafting a really compelling show for Boba Fett. Looking back, it wasn't impossible. You could have done something with the twins. You could have done, maybe the Sanctuary had something sinister going on. It's like all these certain things happened, but then it just wasn't explored. All these new characters were either getting piled up onto the show, were not really given as much development as they could have, or they just left. I don't know. The show I enjoyed because it is very engaging. I mean, it has its moments, but it could have used a little bit more compelling narrative. This is the biggest complaint, I guess, of the show for a lot of people. I still think it was engaging enough. It had some great action scenes, especially chapter 2, Tuskens on the train. I felt like I was watching Mad Max Fury Road with that scene. That's definitely one of my favorite episodes. Chapter 2, The Tribes of Tatooine. My personal opinion. I feel like a big reason why that we had basically 2 whole episodes devoted to the Mandalorian story, obviously fan service. And I've said before how I don't like when fan service pretty much takes up a whole story. It didn't here though, but this is fan service, this is within Star Wars, this is fan service done right. I mean, I didn't think we got to see Luke Skywalker in this show of all people, or Ahsoka Tano. But they had him in an episode where a plot was moving forward and it worked. And we were getting some great character moments. Star Wars is very susceptible to just giving into fan service. Basically was the entire creative process for The Rise of Skywalker, which is the one and only thing Star Wars related to come from Disney that I dislike. It's one thing. I'm okay. Enjoy everything else. Totally fine with everything else. But yeah, that's the one thing I'm not a fan of. Sorry. So yeah, with the Book of Boba Fett, they were kind of edging the line between giving to the fan service and making a compelling plot. They were kind of smack in the middle with this show, at least in the latter part of the show. Overall, it's a pretty entertaining show. It's engaging enough. Tamara Morrison, and I've said this in the Mandalorian review, I enjoy Boba Fett, and I enjoy his performance as Boba Fett. And he is a better fighter than Mando, I'll have to say. And in the finale, he is completely just left and right, shooting bad guys. The knee blaster I think is awesome. 7 out of 10, not as compelling as it could have been, but still a worthy enough addition to the live-action Star Wars TV shows. Alright, that's my review for the Book of Boba Fett. I have spoken. This is the way. May the Force be with you.